business matters.
And this is Local Biz Now. I am Joe Vagnone. You are listening to the #1 top business show in all of North Carolina. Certainly all the villes from Statesville all the way to Huntersville and all of the towns in between. This is News Talk WSIC 105.9 FM, 100.7 FM, and 1400 AM. I am Joe Vagnone. This is the #1 talk business show, and I'm going to prove it to you. We've been doing this 10 years strong. We have interviewed well over 775 small business owners and community leaders. We have well over 400 videos of our shows and interviews on my brand new YouTube sexy channel, Joe Vagnone, Business Broker. Please go there and be a subscriber. I think we got 48, and I want to get to 49 this week if I can. Go to Joe Vagnone, Business Broker on YouTube and subscribe. You will then start to receive all of our videos, including this spectacular video that we're doing today. And we are live on the book right now, so you can go there and chit-chat and be a part of it. Julie is managing the book for us, so if I can't get back to you, she will be able to do that. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. And today is a spectacular show. Now, every now and then we bring a heavy hitter in, and we try and keep up with them the best that we can. Today, Julia stacked the deck, and we have 2 heavy hitters, and it's because it's Christmas. We try and bring our favorite people back, some of our favorite co-hosts. You do not get on the show in December unless you are a seasoned, skilled co-host and pass the audience test and, of course, the Julie test. And #1 on our show, always in December, is my dear friend, whether she will admit it or not, Sherre DeMao. She is the founder of Biz Growth, Inc. She is a maestro of all things business, and I have known her for years, and there's a reason why she has the nickname #1, and that's because she's #1 in our hearts, and she is the #1 person that I know, and in my go-to person when it comes to small business thought processes and coaching. Sherre, thank you for being here.
You're welcome. Always a pleasure.
And, of course, we're going to have with you today, Sherre, which you're welcome, because I'm going to introduce you to this fine young man.
I'm excited to learn more. Yeah, I'm impressed already, and I have just met him.
Ben McDonald, he is the founder of BGW Wealth Advisors. I'm sure most of you remember Ben. He's been on the show several times, and he was one of my speakers for one of my small business events that we did a couple years ago.
Co-host of it, yep.
Co-host.
Yeah, that was a good time.
Yeah, that was, yeah.
Ben, thank you so much for being here, buddy. I really do appreciate it.
Honored to be a part of December.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, you just slid in this year, you understand now. It's a long list.
Hey, I've been chipping away at it, right? I was a guest, and then I was a co-host for a month, and a co-host again, and
now
then I was able
you're
to
here
do
for a
the
special
show. Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
December, sitting next to #1, you understand.
Hey, I've worked hard over the last couple of years to do this.
So before we get started with the show, and it's going to be a great show, for those of you that know this show, we asked the co-hosts to bring articles from the Google. Well, I can assure you these particular co-hosts most time bring their own. They are the Google, just so you guys know that. But before we get started, I want everybody to, from your words, not mine, hear exactly what your business is. Sherre, please tell us what Biz Growth Inc. is all about.
Okay, well, our tagline is next level, next idea, igniting prosperity. And so what we focus on, which I know is near and dear to your heart, is building companies of value and worth. But what we're talking about is not just about the dollars that the business can be acquired for or sell. It's also about the value of the company as a whole in its industry, being considered a leader, by its employees being considered a preferred employer, by its customers being considered the only company they would want to work with what they're doing. And so we really focus on the whole aspect of operations, and we have the audacity to believe believe that branding is an operational function, not a marketing function, because you get into corporate culture, you get into ease of doing business and how that impacts the mentality of the organization inside and out. There's so many things that go into it, and we look at processes and protocols. I'm really big into intellectual property development and making sure that they have some things of value and worth and some proprietary aspects of their business, because we know that makes them valuable,
Yes.
right? So we look at all of those facets. And sometimes I come in as a CMO on call. I prefer coming in as a COO on call because that covers marketing too.
Right.
And really just help that company get to the next level, and then bring somebody in to take over. They're set up for success.
You know, that's one of the things you taught me when we first started working together. You and I beat heads.
Oh, yeah.
You enjoyed that.
Because I tell it like it is.
That's right.
And you're not used to that.
That's right.
Yeah, but most small business owners need that, right?
They totally need
They have
that.
their idea, they start a business,
What do you
and they
need
get
to know,
stuck.
right?
That's it, right?
Ben, I had years ago, you can imagine I deal with a lot of attorneys, and I had a very, very skilled attorney, very successful over the years, tell me, Joe, my small business owners, if they had a big enough mirror, they'd do their own brain surgery. And that's a true statement. If we could, we would do it, you know. And I can remember when I'd asked Sherre to help me with some marketing, first thing she wanted to do was do research on the company, interview past and future, and alter how we do business. I'm like, Sherre, I don't want you for that. Joe, you need that.
Yep.
And she was so right, because it helped me define my company better, and then marketing got really easy.
Right.
This is what we do that nobody else does.
I can't tell you how many times working with companies that they could not execute their marketing strategy because if it actually worked, they wouldn't have the capacity.
Yeah.
And so you have to look at all of that. And too often marketing and operations are here and here, and they need to be here because marketing is a part of operations. And if you're operating day to day, you need to be marketing day to day too. Why is there feast and famine in most businesses? It's because they don't view marketing as an operational function.
Right. And you taught me that.
Yeah.
Well, you beat it into me. It's probably a better way to describe that. But so Ben, most people should know, but what is BGW Wealth Advisors? I want you to change your name. You know that. And you got the woman sitting right there ready to do that for you. You understand?
A little foreshadowing. We are in the process of having that conversation right now. So, yep.
I have a hard time saying BGW.
I know. And the reason it's that name is we're partnered with a CPA firm called BGW CPA.
They're a great reputation.
Yeah, they're
phenomenal.
great. And they focus solely on business owners. So what we do is we create a comprehensive wealth management experience
in conjunction with
for
them.
business owners, and it's integrated with that CPA firm. So that way you can have almost a family office, private wealth type feel where we can pull in CPAs and we can be much more tax efficient. And a business owner has this one go-to stop where they can work with their CPA, their wealth advisor, their portfolio manager. Everybody can be integrated so the left hand knows what the right hand's doing.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So thank you, Ben. I appreciate you taking time to be here for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So who wants to start with their responsibility of bringing
Well, you're number one, so kick it off.
Okay.
Which article do you want to start with?
I'm going to start with the 5 negative impacts of a codependent business because that is near and dear to my heart. And yes, I wrote it.
Surprise. Which, by the way, Ben, I'll tell you something. There's 2 things about Sherre that are absolute. Nobody does more detailed research than Sherre. That's just a fact. When she
I'm all about validation, not proving, but validation, and there's a difference.
If she says it or writes it, I guarantee you she's got detail to back that up. So that's just an absolute fact. And the other thing that's absolute is she is one of the finest writers I've ever met. Now, that's not saying a lot coming from me. I know Sherre knows how I write. But I challenge anybody to go to her website. It is just
that's got to be
exceptional.
Beneficial on your aspect of being able to grow the business through content of something.
Oh, totally.
If you enjoy doing it, you're good at it.
When you look at I've got, 15 years of content on the website, right? Yeah. And which does make it easier because you just repurpose it.
And
then keep
most
building more
businesses-
content, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And well, and
Yeah.
you can build on top of it too. But
Yeah.
most businesses struggle dramatically with
Yes.
content.
Yes.
So if that's something you enjoy doing, and you've been able to do it,
Well, and what's
you've
really
got a
exciting is
library.
working with clients and helping them understand the power of it. And
Yes.
and then what's funny is I might be ghostwriting for a while. Then all of a sudden, they start to get a hang of what it's all about. And I'm like a little mama with the bird shooting out of the nest when they are starting to write it all themselves. See, to me, I'm all about, talk about codependent.
Right.
One of the issues I have with a lot of people in my industry, whether they're coaches or whether they're consultants or what have you, is they want a codependent relationship. And because that's money, right? The reason I say next level, next idea is because I want to get a company to a certain level, and I want to build infrastructure where they can do it themselves as much as possible.
Right.
And then guess what? They come up to me when they want to go to that next level. They come up to me when they want to go to that next level. That's the way it should be. That's the way it should be.
One of the things you said is the power of good content. It is so true. That's why I can say you are the best writer I have ever seen, because I can come to you and say, Sherre, I want them to feel this. I want them to know this. You can put those words, my feelings, you can put those words on a piece of paper so that the spirit of what I'm trying to say actually comes out. That's not easy to do. Now try doing that to a website where you might have 4 or 5 different buyer profiles coming for different reasons.
It's so absolutely incredible. One of the things I say, on the marketing side of things is marketing is not about convincing people to do business with you. Marketing is about attracting the right people to do business with you. And that means you write it in such a way, never saying anything negative like, I don't want to do business with you, but they will read your website and they'll figure out who you're doing business with, and they'll disqualify themselves and not waste your time. Right. So, but it's all on a very clear and targeted way of talking about all these different segments.
That's such a good point, because most of the time if people do content at all, it's going to be about their business, but what you're talking about is you're creating content for the people you want to be working with.
That's the only content that's created.
For us, we run a podcast, and it interviews business owners and their processes inside the company, things like that. It's like, we want the conversations with the people that we want to be working with.
Absolutely.
Not talking about our business. Nobody cares about that.
Well, I was sitting across a Women in Construction meeting, and I had invited someone I had just met to come to this meeting because I thought she could benefit from it. She's in another group with me. By the time she had gotten to the meeting, this is only a week from the invitation to go into this meeting, she became my biggest cheerleader because she had read a bunch of my content.
Right.
A week later, she hired me as her COO.
Yep.
I didn't even have to do anything.
It's great. Yeah, we've gotten multiple clients who are the same way. They had listened to enough shows. I had no idea they were listening. And one day they called up and they were like, I'm looking for an advisor.
Right.
I have heard you enough. I feel like I know you and trust you from the podcast. And they become clients.
Powerful.
Yeah.
Let's take a break.
Sure.
We come back. What are we going to learn?
Maybe we'll get to an article.
The 5 negative impacts of codependent business.
I don't even know what a codependent
You're going to
business is.
find out.
In a couple minutes.
You are listening to Local Biz Now. I am Joe Vagnone. If it's Friday morning, Ben, do you remember this?
Your business matters.
Yeah, but we got to work on it. You need a little
I'm
attitude.
trying to not say it country. Last time you gave me a whole lot of trash for saying it in some country accent.
Well, sometimes Joe says your business matters.
Your business matters.
We'll be right back. And we're back. You are listening to Local Biz Now. I am Joe Vagnone. If it's Friday morning, I'm sipping on a cup of black powder coffee because it's delicious. This is Local Biz Now, and I hope we are inspiring, informing, entertaining you for this next hour. Thank you so much. If it's WSIC, your business matters. And every month we have a co-host. This month it is Sherre DeMao, specifically here today because of Christmas. Number one, thank you so much for being here. We also have Ben McDonald with BGW Wealth Advisors. Sherre, you're going to talk about an article. What you got for us?
Yes, so I've got the 5 negative impacts of a codependent business. And you were saying earlier, well, what's a codependent business? Okay, so this is where there are aspects of the business that it is so dependent on that it could jeopardize growth, it could jeopardize ability to expand, it could jeopardize a lot of things. And so the 5 things are being too client attached. So you have like one big client, right? That's like 40%, 25%, 50% of your business. Okay, that they're too codependent on that one client. A supplier contractor. So you're very reliant on a supplier or a contractor. What happens if that supplier or contractor can't do something? Well, then the whole bottleneck happens with what you can possibly get done. A key employee. A business owner is very codependent on a key employee, sometimes to the detriment of the key employee being able to advance and grow themselves. Then process dependent. That can be anywhere from the bottleneck of the owner itself and how they must, and that moves into the 5th one where it's too owner dependent, and we all know that's a problem.
I see a lot of that.
You see a lot of that.
Yeah.
And so I think most businesses get caught up in the client dependent, especially starting out.
Yep.
Okay, so what I see a lot with startups is I'll see somebody say, "Oh, if I could just get one customer." Well, you shouldn't be just thinking, "Oh, if I can just get one customer," because that's what gets you in trouble, right?
What happens when that customer goes away?
Yeah, you need to be. If I can get a loyal base of customers, is what you need to be focusing on. So I don't know if I want to focus a lot on that one because most businesses can relate to that one. I think the 2 that I would like to focus on, the 3 are the key employee, the process, and the owner. Okay, because again, supplier contractor, you should always have options. You shouldn't be so reliant on one. And if you are, because what happens when you get,
and that's getting harder and harder to do.
It's getting harder and harder to do. But you have, like, even when I refer, you probably have noticed this too. When I refer to a client, because I make sure I know anybody and everybody that can do something, I always refer at least 3. All right, because I want them to know that there are options out there, and I make sure I know more than for that reason, because you don't want to be stuck not being able to get something done because that supplier or contractor can't do it.
It also makes your referral more valid because now you're
totally.
not just
doesn't look like I, my
taking
palms
money
are
on
getting,
the back.
yeah.
Ben, I have to tell my clients I get nothing for this, right?
I won't.
I have to be clear.
I won't do any kind of referral fees for that exact reason because I want it to be considered something that is truly in their best interest, and I'm not getting anything out of it. My
Sherre, when I refer somebody to you, I wish they send me something because I know I'm giving them something good. I don't get anything, but I wish they'd send me something because I know I'm sending them quality.
But let's talk about process because this is I have
this is your home run. This is your bread and butter.
Yeah, and the ways that a business can get codependent on a process, there's a couple of ways. Well, let's say one way that I see all the time, which affects every aspect of the business, is the business owner must sign off on everything. The business owner must sign the checks. I actually had a recent situation where a client who was working with another business owner had a check that they were owed was sitting on that other business owner's desk for like 4 weeks waiting for it to be signed. It had been approved. Mm-hmm. But now that's a messed up process and causing a lot of angst and irritation, frustration, with a supplier or vendor, right?
Right.
The other aspect is getting having an investment of an expense versus an investment mindset. And so you have a process that doesn't work, but it's going to cost money to change it.
Yeah. But what they don't think about is it's costing them money, fixing it.
Yes, more money. And that just blows my mind in regard to the mentality of there was a situation recently. I'm working as a COO, and I'm reviewing all of how they approach their proposals and everything else. And it's the most transactional approach I've ever seen in my entire life. And I'm like, do you want to have relationships at all?
Right.
I mean, their proposals.
They probably gave no thought to it.
Their proposals don't even name the company. The proposals they send don't even name the company they're sending it to. Can you imagine that?
Invoice number 23957.
and
2397's on the phone, Bob.
So,
Right.
so
Talk about
they have,
impersonal.
So they have this, click and play process, but there and the reason I was brought in, guess what? The reason I was brought in was to understand why their project authorizations aren't getting authorized.
And you listen, not a doubt in my mind, you're butting heads with the owner, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you can't make that kind of change without being somebody like you willing to go toe to toe and say, listen, I'm sorry, but I have to tell you, you're wrong. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not an easy thing moving that owner. Because a lot of times we are successful because our stubbornness got us to this point. Right. Now it's the stubbornness that's a problem.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to make that change.
Well, there's two things about business owners that are their positives and their negatives. One is they care so much, which is a positive, and another thing is they care so much that it becomes a negative. And the other one is just what you said. It's that we're going to make this happen no matter what. And most of the time it's I'm going to make this happen no matter what.
Right.
Instead of we're going to make this happen no matter what.
Yeah,
and so that gets at, the owner codependency.
Right. Well, you just hit on why I really like referring you to my clients, because you are somebody unique enough to get through. Mm-hmm. Not all of the advisors to these small business people can actually get through. And it really matters. And it just takes years of experience to know you got to say no to them. Sometimes we need to hear them. We got to get popped on the back of the head.
Well, the other part of it is understanding what really is at the gut level of what is important to them, and speaking to them from their values basis, right? And
just so you know, our dear friend Fabi is on. She wanted to say hi to you.
Oh, that's awesome! Hey, baby.
She wanted
baby.
She wanted you to know she's listening to you.
That's awesome. So I'm sure that you have seen this a lot too with the business owners you've worked with.
Constantly.
Yeah.
And one of the things on that point was the person that starts the business and gets the business going because of that ego and stubbornness quite often is not the person to lead the company to the next level.
Right.
And until they can set that ego aside and be willing to bring in somebody like yourself that can be that COO and help grow and fix the processes, until that happens, they're going to be stuck in that same spot and probably end up going backwards.
That's what I was going to say, Ben. Or they just simply won't grow to where they know they could, right?
Right. And all of these aspects keep a business from growing effectively.
Okay.
And yes, all five of these.
Let's take a break.
Okay.
We come back. Ben, you're up.
I'm ready.
Let's take a break. Okay, Ben, are you ready? No twang, but I need a little bit more attitude.
I may only go twang on this one.
Sherre, if you haven't noticed by now, he's just like a nice guy. You know what I mean? I got to get that out of him. You know what I mean? If it's Friday morning, do it, Ben, do it.
Your business matters.
Yeah, we'll be right back. And we are back. You are listening to Local Biz Now. I am Joe Vagnone. If it's Friday morning, Sherre's picking on Joe. So I said something about girls basketball, and Sherre said, whoa. That's a tough sport, baby.
Yeah,
tough sport. I didn't know you played basketball.
Yes, I did. I love that game.
Yeah?
I'm actually putting a court. My granddarling loves basketball, and I'm so excited I can't stand it.
Nice.
So Ben used to coach basketball.
Yep.
I was trying to make fun of him and say, I bet you coached girl basketball because you're so nice. And you quickly, like you always do, Sherre, slapped me on the back of the head and said, whoa, that's a tough sport.
Exactly right.
Yeah. So you, if you were on the book, you heard Sherre beating on me. If not, I thought I'd share that with everybody else. So Ben, please, what you got for us?
And one of the things we were talking about before the show even started was the impact that COVID has had and how it's changed businesses. Yes. One of the articles I brought was, has COVID-19 permanently changed business strategy?
And Ben, it's the timing as well, because as I was driving into the studio today, I heard that our hospitals throughout the country are as busy as they've ever been, even in the middle of the pandemic, with COVID and also flu and that sort of stuff. So we're back in the middle of caring about our health and being more cautious on that.
And that's one of the things I like about this topic. It's not going to go away, even if COVID-19 becomes less and less relevant over time. Just illnesses in general, people are being more conscious about not being around others as they're not feeling well. that part's going to stick, right? So what does that look like for things like workforce and flexible work and things like that?
And even PTO and things like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, right? I mean, you see more and more companies going to unlimited PTO because what if somebody has been sick multiple times, or I think you were mentioning earlier somebody that their grandchild was susceptible and ended up passing away. Well, you're going to take time off, and rightfully so.
Right.
But the style 3-4 years ago of things like PTO just doesn't fit today's world.
You know, Ben, that's why I was so surprised when the entire nation was having a debate on whether the railroad guys should get time off. I'm like, that seemed like an easy give, you know? I mean, I don't know the whole negotiation, and I'm sure there were plenty of things to it, but it does seem like a strange thing for the company to want to even fight about, because in this day and age, you're not coming to work if you're not feeling well.
But you always see whenever there's change across the board, there are always industries and companies that lag, right? The ones that are more antiquated. When it comes to technology, my industry of financing and wealth management is way behind technology-wise.
Yeah, it is.
And so then you see something like this. It's the railroads, they're stuck so in the old mentality that they're less likely to change than a lot of these other companies have been.
Interesting.
So, yeah, and it just happens every time there's some sort of change. This one just happens to be really health related, right? But one of the big changes that I'm sure you guys are seeing too is companies they don't have the same perception that they need this expensive physical location anymore.
That's a huge shift.
I'm seeing a lot of that.
Well, Duke Energy got rid of some buildings. They were planning on some, but they're and companies are really looking. Hybrid is really a big deal now. Hybrid workforce.
Sherre, Ben, I don't know if you guys agree with this or not, but one of the positives for a pandemic, for me as a small business person, it gives us small business people it's kind of an equalizer.
Yeah.
So if you want to work out of your home now, it's no longer this stigma, right? If your dog's barking in the background, it used to be like this big embarrassment.
Right.
Now it's
now
it's just expected, because you could be. It literally could be your bank personnel talking to you from their home.
Yeah, I had a client call the other day, or a prospect call. It was the first time I'd ever talked to these people. And it was a Zoom call, and I was at home, and FedEx came and dropped something off, so my dog barked. And he's quiet all the other times, but you just laugh it off. You're like, oh, it wouldn't be a Zoom meeting if there wasn't a dog barking in the background.
That's right.
And then you move on, right? And the flip side, too, that most business owners feel like they have to always put up a front of we look perfect from the outside. Correct. And one of the things I think this has done is we're all people.
That's correct.
And and that's okay. If anything, it's better.
Yeah.
Right? People love that. You hear, I had one where my son was sick and he came in, and it was with my assistant, so it wasn't as bad. But it came in and just hopped on my lap. It's like, we have families, we have things going on, and that's not only okay, but it makes the customers and clients connect with us more.
Ben, I'll tell you what else seems to be happening. My clients realize, because if you're like me, like us, right? I don't care where I work. I'm going to work as much as I need to get done what I need to get done, right? And when you know that, the fact that Ben's working from home, right, just means you're spending more time doing what it is you do. You're not separating out. So I know you might be working at 12:30 at night, getting an answer to a question for me. That seems to be something that is becoming more and more expected when you've already earned their trust.
Right. Yep, true.
So small business people, we're not wasting or burning time just because we're working from home.
Not at all. And what's been interesting for me, I fully expanded coast to coast nationally during COVID. 2020 was a phenomenal year because I wasn't traveling. I was doing everything virtually, so I didn't have the downtime from travel. And what's been fascinating is now that we're on the other side of it, it's all my local clients that want to meet in person, and Zoom is like this.
Right.
And all my national, I thought, okay, I'm going to travel again. No, they're saving a lot of money on not having to pay travel expenses.
Yeah. Right.
And so I got them so comfortable with doing strategic work and everything virtually that not a problem.
Ben, Julie just said on the book, why don't you tell Ben how much you hate dogs barking? I'm not a dog person, Ben. You understand? And Julie's dog's just to go a barking.
Oh, God.
And I must tell you something that just wears me out today.
And there's a difference, too, of like a one-off versus having an animal making noise the entire meeting.
Exactly.
That's a big difference. Yeah. Yep.
Anything else on your article, buddy?
So the other piece was the health aspect of it, of companies are doing much better of installing programs that promote people being healthy.
Yeah.
And so it's, what are you doing as far as like giving discounts on insurances and benefits and stuff like that if you're participating in runs and walks and you're getting a physical and your numbers are in good spots, things like that. And I think that's phenomenal because this byproduct, we know that employees are they're more focused, they do a better job, they're more efficient when they are healthy human beings. So instead of trying to wear them down, they now have to commute every day in there and back, and they're wasting an hour of their day. So now they're also more stressed, so they don't get a workout in, and they eat worse. This hybrid style is allowing them to be healthier people, and so they're more efficient for companies.
Yeah, there was a study with MIT confirming that the hybrid work model is going to stay and it's going to continue to evolve. And you know, there's some glitches with how it needs to work.
Sherre, I'm curious to know what you think. Ben, I'm curious to know what you think. My friends and I have been having a fight about this. I believe there's going to be a change in pay structure. If you work from home, you're going to get paid some percentage less, or there will be benefits to working in the office. Do you guys think that's going to happen?
I disagree with that, and I think that would be a huge mistake.
Yep, I think companies that do that will be out of business.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because why would you?
That's a huge mistake.
If you're going to work from home,
it's about being productive. One of the things that I think,
well, that's the problem companies are having.
There was a Forbes
They know that 20% are not productive, but they can't figure out what 20 it is.
But then that is the mentality of a business owner or a leadership that believes if they can't see them doing it, they're not doing it, and that's unfair because you have good talent, you have good competency. It doesn't matter where they do it, unless they have to be digging ditches or something, and they have to physically be there. And see, that's a whole nother challenge, okay, because I work a lot in the construction and manufacturing industry, and okay, you've got the office workers that can work from home. Well, you know, somebody that is, you know, laying pavement can't work from home.
Any of those services.
So then companies are having to say, okay, how can we make this fair? What's the fairness? So then they might have to offer more PTO.
And Sherre, to go back to real quick before the break of your last article talking about the operations and processes.
Yeah.
The reason that they feel like they have to see their employees doing stuff to know if they're efficient or not is because they don't have the processes. But you need to have these KPIs in your company so you can measure your employees no matter where they're working from.
Exactly.
Ben, she just gave you an exactly. That's like a gold star around here. You understand that, don't you? All right, let's take a break. When we come back, Sherre, you're up for the next article.
Okay.
You are Local Biz Now. I am Joe Vagnone. If it's Friday morning, say it, Sherre, say it.
Your business matters.
Yeah. We'll be right back. And we're back. You are listening to Local Biz Now. I am Joe Vagnone. And if it's Friday morning, I am really upsetting some co-hosts today. We were having an argument during the break.
Debates.
I firmly believe, I'm going to say, let's say 24 to 36 months from now, Isaiah, let's get these two back on the air because I believe businesses, large and small, are going to start paying less or give incentives to people that are willing to go into the office. I think there's going to be a divergence in pay, and these two big, smart people were ready to throw things at me because they totally disagree with me.
You know that show in 2 years isn't going to happen because Joe's not going to have us back to say that he was wrong and we were right.
Exactly.
So if I'm right, I'll have you guys back.
Exactly. Which is why it won't happen.
Well, no, what's going to happen is we're both going to be right, except the businesses that you say do that will be suffering miserably.
That's the last thing I wanted to say. You're saying, Joe, it might happen, but it's a bad policy.
You know, it's a bad policy.
Yeah, companies will all the time try and find a way to cut costs and expenses, things like that. So sure, there's going to be lots that will try to do that. But yeah, I completely agree. They're going to have to roll that back pretty quickly because it's going to implode.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. I don't know that I agree with you guys.
Well, we'll see in a couple of years.
Okay. Well, because you understand, my whole life I've met small business people willing to make less so that they can control their own lives.
Mm-hmm.
This is just another example of them doing that, and they don't have to take the risk of being
mentality.
Being self-employed.
Small business owners versus an employee
Well, but
is
you're
going to have
talking
a
about
different
something
mentality.
different there. Okay, you're talking about something different because I did an article about how COVID has changed the workforce forever, and then how it's changed business forever. So, so on the workforce front, people choosing to take less money because they looked at what it was costing them to travel. Okay, no. You're saying that companies are going to offer less. There's a difference there.
They're going to structure the job description so that they're paying less for the job that they're getting. How it is worded is whether it's going to succeed or fail. It's interesting. We're having a discussion. Julie immediately posted, hey, if people feel like they're being taken advantage of, this isn't going to work. But that's not what they're going to do, or they've done a poor job. They're simply going to offer jobs and positions that allow them, just like the registers that don't need employees anymore. The company has taken advantage, and the customers are now willing to accept that as an alternative. So that's what I think is going to happen.
That's something different.
Yeah.
I think, so I think that companies. Okay, so what I was hearing first, and let's see if you were hearing the same thing. What I was hearing first is you have two people in the same roles. Okay, larger company.
Yeah.
One's working from home, one's working in the office.
Right.
What I was hearing is the one working in the office is going to get paid more for the same job as somebody
I think that
working.
is what he said.
That's what I heard you say.
Let me try and describe to you, if I own that company, what I would do. Let's say yes,
but that is
whoa,
not correct.
Do
That is
not try
correct.
and talk over me when I'm trying to interrupt you.
You know I'm going to.
Joe, you need the control over being able to mute the mic.
I don't want Sherre talking over me when I'm trying to interrupt her.
That is a priceless statement there.
Sherre, what I mean is we as business people will alter the job description so you as the employee can choose. Would you like this job, which is code 2, or would you like this job at the office?
Companies do that already.
Well, my point is...
Companies do that already.
And you're going to start seeing that very slight reductions start to happen if you work more from home. It is coming, it is real, and it is going to give real value to big business, because small business has been doing it for years.
Then all these employees need to read my article about how the workforce has been changed, because then they will have the value proposition of all the money they are saving companies because they're working from home. So... it's all about employees then standing up for what their value is worth.
Okay. Well, so far the employees have been winning this battle.
Yeah.
You understand? This is not happening right now.
And it's about time, because it's forcing companies to have a better corporate culture.
I agree with that.
Which I love to see.
And if companies embrace it, they will save costs, right? They can get smaller physical locations and just invest in the technology instead of all the operational and the people, and it's going to be a more efficient business.
Overhead's going to look very different with a smart company.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, because of this fight, Ben, you can tell I love fighting with Sherre, right? You know that.
Yeah. Hey, lively
Sherre
debates
and I
are the
could
best.
do this half the day, right? You understand that?
We didn't need to bring articles. We could have just brought up the topic and just run with it.
Well, it was your article that sent us in that direction, right?
But it's great, because it really has changed things forever.
Yes.
COVID has changed. And you know, you've heard me say it many times on the show. COVID did not put businesses out of business. They were a hot mess. It was just the nail on the coffin.
It exposed it. Yeah.
It exposed
Warren
it.
Buffett's got a saying of recessions and economic downturns is when the money goes from the impatient to the patient. It's the same thing with things like this, right? When a crisis or a recession happens, the bad businesses are just going to get exposed.
Well, in my world, it's a bad business model, and they either will tweak the model to meet
adapt or die.
the needs of the customer, or they'll try and put that square peg in the round hole. You know.
Yeah.
I will tell you this. I really, thanks for the article, Ben. Yeah. And Sherre, I love having this conversation about what's happening in the future with employees and that sort of stuff. I get to see it from both directions, right?
Sure,
I'm a small
so
business guy my whole life.
Yeah.
My wife has worked for a Fortune 25 company her whole life, right? And so one thing that's happening that is really beneficial to her lifestyle is the hybrid approach.
Yes.
Because somebody like my wife
my daughter appreciates
must
that.
go to the office. I mean, she needs that interaction.
Right.
I call her the water fountain girl. Like, she needs a break during the day.
And that's what the MIT article reinforced, that there are people that still need that face-to-face interaction.
That's why hybrid works.
And that's why the
can't
hybrid
be black
works.
and white. Yep.
Right.
Well, the hybrid, I think, is perfect.
Yes.
Because they get the skilled worker like my wife. My wife can choose what 2 days she wants to go into work, right?
Yep.
And she has the 3 days at home and looks forward to coming in to the office. But Sherre, the one thing they have to do, and I learned this from you the last time you were on the air, that the companies have to have reasons to come to the office.
Yes.
It can't be so you can beat them down.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, but here's the flip side. During COVID, in-home healthcare client, we were doing some big shuffling up of leadership. And there was an HR director that kind of needed to go, and they kind of opted themselves out because they saw where the culture was going and the more accountability and things, and they didn't want to be a part of it, so they left. And so we're having this conversation about who would be a good fit to replace. And I said, well, they had this beautiful thing of people coming back to them, people that had worked for them before coming back into the fold. So I said, if you had your way, who would you like back, no matter where they are right now? And this was a young lady who had moved with her fiance, now husband, to Florida, and they're up in New York. And they go, well, she would have been perfect. And I go, why isn't she now? Can she do this HR director role remotely? Maybe have her come in once a quarter, once a month. And she is a rock star. Well, in 2 weeks, they had her hired. They would not have even considered that before COVID. Not have even considered it.
And before Sherre.
Right.
Now, listen. Now, Ben, just so you know, Sherre made that 1 minute conversation. I guarantee it was about a month of Sherre beating a couple people on the back of the head to get them to open up their minds.
It was actually one conversation with them because they were like, you might be right. And no, it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. Literally within 2 weeks after that conversation, she was hired.
That's interesting.
Yeah, very cool.
Well, I now have somebody who does my social media in, Julie, where's it at? Tell me, Oklahoma or wherever. I would have never thought to do that until COVID, right? Yep. And now I'm working with her as easily as I'm working with Julie. Honestly, Zoom has changed that so much, and my comfort level to be able to do that.
Right, and it allows us as business owners to hire the best people, not the best person in a 20-mile radius.
That's correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to get to see one of my clients based
Julie
in...
said Kansas. Okay. I got a girl in Kansas.
Somewhere over there.
Somewhere.
There's no place like home.
She is walking the yellow brick road.
I have a client, they have offices in Texas and California, and I have a conference in San Diego. Now, we got introduced during COVID. I've never met them in person. And so I said, hey, you're only an hour and a half away. Well, it just so happens that he has a conference at the same hotel in San Diego. So I guess I don't have to go up an hour and a half to actually meet him.
So we've only got a minute, 30 seconds each. Sherre, what advice you give business people for next year?
For next year, know what business you're really in and focus entirely on that business. You don't feel like you have to be going a million different directions. Stay focused.
Ben, you got 30 seconds.
Yeah. Do a better job buttoning up the business, because as market turmoil and economic slowdown continues, the companies that have the strong cash flows and the good processes are the ones that are going to survive and thrive.
Right.
Ben, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
If it's Friday morning, say it, Sherre.
Your business matters.
Say it, Ben.
Your business matters.
Yeah. We'll see you next week.